Pokemon Scarlet and Violet feature an open world for you to explore, allowing you to challenge any of the gyms in whatever order you want. Sort of. There is still a recommended route to complete each gyms, although you're not directly told that in the game, and the levels don't scale for each of the gym leaders to your level, with some gym leaders just being harder than others. But what if we just ignored the first 7 gym leaders and immediately climbed the mountain to fight the Sub-Zero Shredder himself, Grusha, the gym leader with the highest level Pokemon in the game? Let's load up a new save on Pokemon Scarlet and see what happens. So my thought process going into this is to play the start of the game as a normal person would and treat Grusha as the actual first gym leader. With that being said, I did all the intro parts, caught a Lechonk, and also caught a Pawmi because I imagine that's what people would do if they first played this game. I battled some trainers and wild Pokemon here and there, then headed up the mountain towards Grusha's gym. This took me a little while since I didn't have any of the upgrades to Koraidon to make moving around easier and couldn't swim or jump very high. And the wild Pokemon as we got closer along the way were much higher level than us and kept destroying us and not letting us run away from them. But seeing as most first gym leaders have Pokemon at around level 12 or so, our Fuecoco being level 10 should be okay for the first gym, especially if we have the type advantage, right? When we finally make it into the gym, we are greeted by Nemona, who still gives us the basic rundown of how gyms work like she would if you entered the Cortando gym first, like you're technically supposed to. She didn't give us any warning, however, about Grusha's team being a much higher level than our Pokemon, and even if you check the map to see the details of each of the gym leaders, for Grusha, it doesn't indicate that this should be the 8th gym, or that it's a particularly hard gym. If you look at other gyms, like the Medali gym, it says how it's in the middle of the road gym, which fits as it's supposed to be the 5th gym badge you get, while the Cortando gym and Artisan gym descriptions also indicate that they are intended to be fought early on, and are often a trainer's first gym battle. It would be cool if they made it a bit easier in the descriptions to see which gyms you're supposed to battle first, or if when I headed into this gym, Nemona stopped us and says, "Oh, are you sure you're ready for the gym?" But she didn't do that. We pressed on anyway, slide down the slopes to pass the gym test, and finally fight Grusha. He does give us a speech about how we're not ready to fight him yet, and how he's so strong because he was an ex-snowboarder and has a heart full of ice or something like that. But he says stuff like that no matter when you face him, so it's really not much different than facing him later on in the game. We lead with Fuecoco on his Frostmoth and can hit it for 4 times super effective damage with Ember, but it's over 30 levels higher than us. Definitely the highest level for a first gym I've ever seen. Fuecoco goes down to a single Bug Buzz, and unsurprisingly, Lechonk and Pawmi also go down in a single hit. We're not giving up that easy though, as one idea you might have to beat Grusha early on is to catch high-level wild Pokemon that match up well against his Ice-type Pokemon. Luckily, we can catch a Bronzong right behind the gym, which is perfect as it's a Steel type. Now, we can't buy anything better than a regular Pokeball yet, or regular potions for that matter, as the shops upgrade with each gym badge and we don't have any yet. So we have to get lucky by spamming regular Pokeballs and not white out while battling a wild Bronzong. We eventually catch one at level 35, which is still about 10 levels lower than it should be for Grusha's gym, but it's still a big jump from the Pokemon we had before. While catching other Steel types or other types that match up well against Ice Pokemon seems like it would be a good idea, the issue with that is that in this game, high-level Pokemon that you catch don't obey them unless you caught them yourselves at a lower level, then level them up. This mechanic varies in other Pokemon games, but seeing as this is an open world game, I guess it does make sense you don't just catch level 40 Pokemon and then steamroll the first 5 or 6 gyms easily. Now, if we do level up Pokemon that we caught at a low level though, like our Fuecoco and Pawmi, they will obey us even if they get to around level 45, which is perfect for this gym. So naturally, I spent a ton of time grinding against wild Pokemon and doing some raids for EXP candy. Our best bet is to probably focus on Fuecoco and Pawmi as they match up real well against Grusha's gym. Once Pawmi learns a fighting type move and gets to about level 20, I pick up some ham sandwich ingredients and travel near the Team Star Theory base to grind against wild Chanseys. If you don't know, making a ham sandwich here and eating it in your Pokemon camp makes a ton of Chanseys spawn here and gives you a ton of XP when you knock them out. This is still a little bit of a pain for us early on, as Pawmi doesn't really do that much damage with arm thrust on Chanseys and just gets knocked out by Double Edge a lot. I resort to just using Bronzong as Heavy Slam is usually a one-hit KO on Chansey and Double Edge does like no damage to Bronzong, but that only works when Bronzong decides to listen to us and not just fall asleep, which is like 1 in every 5 turns. At least we don't have to rely on this Bronzong for too long though, as once Pawmi evolves all the way into Pawmot, we teach it Brick Break and do a lot more damage to these Chanseys. Even though it was a bit annoying since we had to walk around with it for about 1,000 steps then level it up without it returning to the Pokeball for it to properly evolve, and I accidentally had it return to the Pokeball twice. I also caught a Mareep around here because I just like Mareep, and it should be decent for the gym to round out our team to 5 Pokemon. 5 Pokemon for a first gym might seem a bit overkill, since I feel like most people tend to beat their first gym badge with only 2 or 3 Pokemon, but this isn't a traditional first gym fight. Now the funny thing about us grinding near this Team Star base is even though you're intended to battle this base as one of the last Team Star bases, Clivel still comes along to explain Team Star to us, since it's technically our first time encountering one of their bases. I also kept saying no when I accidentally got too close to the entrance of the base and he asked us to battle them, because they too were also way too high leveled. And even if I didn't get that close to the entrance, they still tried to battle me, which was kind of annoying as Chanseys were running around near there. So all of this grinding took about 2 hours or so until finally Pawmot gets level 47 and our other party members are in the low 40s. A bit lower than Grusha's Pokemon, but it should be okay since we have the type advantage. And this is by far the most amount of grinding I've ever had to do for a first gym battle in a Pokemon game ever. When preparing for this gym, I decided to check the shop to restock on some items and realize that we can still only buy regular potions, which are technically worthless when our Pokemon are at such a high level. We do have 7 revives, which we managed to find while exploring around, which might come in handy though. When we head back into the gym to fight Grusha, he acts like we never met and gives us the same speech as he did before. This time though, instead of having a lowly Fuecoca, we have a big strong Skellyridge, which we lead with in our rematch. His lead Frostmoth goes for Tailwind to boost speed for a few turns, but goes down to a single Torch Song, which also boosts our special attack stat. Beartic comes in next and goes for Earthquake, which Skellyridge lives, and then it goes down to another Torch Song. On Titan, since the Tailwind is still up, it outspeeds us and knocks out Skellyridge, so I go into Pawmot. I Terastallize immediately because our Terra type is electric, and it gets rid of our part fighting typing, so Altaria can't hurt us as much if it goes for Hurricane. We can use Brick Break on Titan twice to knock it out, as I didn't want to risk going for close combat to lower our defenses in case Altaria was faster than us. And then the Tailwind peters out on the end of the turn. Then in comes Grusha's ace Pokemon, the Terra Altaria with the Ice Terra type. It Terastallizes right away as Pawmot goes for close combat, outspeeds Altaria, and knocks it out in one hit. So there we go, we beat the 8th gym leader in Scarlet and Violet first. After the battle, Grusha tells us how Pokemon up to level 25 will obey us easier and also be easier to catch, which is still too low for even the 7th gym fight, but it is cool to see how defeating the 8th gym first doesn't skip all of those other prerequisites, and doesn't allow just any Pokemon to obey us. Nemona then calls us to congratulate us on our first gym badge, and it took me about 4.5 hours to get our first gym badge in this game. That isn't as bad as I thought it would be, especially considering how the intro part of this game takes about an hour to complete before we're able to even explore the world freely. This should make the rest of the gyms and the rest of the game really easy since we're already at such a high level and have such little things actually completed in the game. Our Pokemon are already almost at the same level of Elite Four Pokemon, so that's what happens if you beat the last gym first in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I don't know why anybody would ever want to do this, but you can do it in under 5 hours if you really wanted to.